So my name is Zack, and who am I here with today?
So my name is Jack. I'm a youth worker with the Churches Trust.
What motivated you to get into the work that you do?
So what motivated me to get into the work and to youth work was, like yourself, I was a young person, in the youth centres, and I just kind of got involved from there and became like a peer mentor, and then from there just building up my youth work skills, and now I'm finally in an employment role, as a youth worker.
What are some common misconceptions about young people?
The misconceptions, well, you can say, there's like, a lot of people say they're hoodlums, hanging around the shops, but not necessarily. Maybe they're not involved in youth centres or any youth spaces where they can go to, and they just need a space for the young people to hang out. So that's kind of would be one of the misconceptions. The other one is, I think they say young people are lazy, but I don't think that. Like, a lot of people have like ambitions, but just with the way everything's going, in terms of employment, trying to get a job, it's like, it's hard to actually get a job, like especially for young people nowadays, where maybe back then it was a lot easier than it was now. And what do you think about that?
I think it would have been far easier back then because there was probably less jobs, but therefore it would have been harder because the amount of population and everyone going for them jobs.
And do you think there's any other misconceptions, because I know I've named a couple, but do you think there's any?
No, I totally agree with you there, Jack. Yeah. What barrier did you face when joining employment?
There was never really a barrier, for me facing employment. I was nervous going into an interview because I didn't really have them interview skills, so I was a bit nervous. But other than that, there wasn't really any barrier.
Have you ever been discriminated against because of your age?
I think I haven't been discriminated for myself, but in terms of young people not being able to vote, I know if I was 16, I would want to vote at 16, but unfortunately it's 18. And another kind of way of we're being discriminated is the wages of young people. It's very low compared to someone who's maybe
over 20.
Over 20 or 25, So there is obviously out there discrimination against young people, and their age,
I totally agree with you there. Do you think the media has a negative or a positive view of young people?
I think, the media always comes out with a negative. Anytime you hear in the news, they're saying they're rioting or, they're up to badness. I've never heard a positive story that the news has put out on young people. It always seems to be negative. Do you have any, thoughts on that too, or do you think?
I totally agree with you, Jack, but there is some young people that deserve to be put in the news for positive things, and the news just don't go out of the way and do that there. But they go out of the way and put up things about rioting and all. I find it pretty disgraceful.
And that's the thing too as well, it puts a barrier on young people, because then when they think, oh, this is what the media thinks, this is what people think, we kind of feel like, well, that's what we are, but we're not, and that's what it is. More people, more social media, news, they should be promoting what young people are doing, especially what they're doing within youth clubs, what they're doing for their communities, because there is actually a lot of young people getting involved in their communities and actually helping their communities. So there is that positive as well, but it's just making sure the media can actually understand it.
Fair enough. How did you feel whenever you first realised younger people were being treated unfairly?
It annoyed me because we young people, we have a lot to say. We're quite I don't know if you agree with me if not, but like there's like a quite a frustration there, you know, where we want to tell adults going, you know, this is how we feel, this is what we want to get across, but sometimes, you know, they don't listen, and you know, sometimes young people
Get ignored and all.
Get ignored and don't feel heard.
Basically pushed to the side and the way out of the scenes and all. How do you think young people felt when they got treated unfairly?
Well, I'd say they'd probably feel angry, you know, being treated unfairly, and they would challenge. Not all, but I'd say there would be some.
What would you think younger people would have done if it kept going?
They would want to be making sure, like they would be reaching out to like different organisations
like
for them, services and stuff, to be heard, and you know, want them to be respected and make sure that voice is actually heard.
Do you feel like you could contribute to society to help the younger people?
Yeah, I think for myself, you know, I'm working with young people and helping.
Have you ever felt frightened for your safety in the city?
Yeah, do you know, I think there is, like for young people to feel frightened in the city, you know, especially like if there's like riots going on, you know, like young people don't feel safe to come out when that's happening, you know, and like parents are going, you know, stay in the house, you know, and trying to, and then there's a lot of like, oh, what's going on, and they're a bit feared, you know, because it could, you know, lash into other neighbourhoods and stuff like that too as well.
And then your house could be potentially hit, say like with a petrol bomb. What do you think of drugs in the city?
I think they shouldn't really exist, to be honest, because, you know, they do wreck young people's lives. Like, young people, I think young people are aware of the consequences, but I think they want to kind of escape the situation because, you know, whether they feel unsafe, whatever it is, you know, it's that way of almost like getting away from the real life situation, but they don't realise the consequences that, you know, it's causing on them down the line, you know, too.
What do you think of addictions? Do you like saying vaping and all?
For vaping and young people, like again, it's like a bit like smoking. You know,
it's there is like what?
Smoking. You know, so there is, you know, maybe side effects, but it's the way vaping. You know, it's tailored to young people. You know, the different flavors, the colors. You know, it's more appealing to young people.
Yeah, because the color and say it brings in like fruity flavors.
Yeah.
About like younger people's favorite, say their favorite sweets. And their favourite colour.
What is your thoughts? Do you think it should be banned, or what's your thoughts on it?
I think it should be banned. Apparently it's been banned there in April, but apparently that's been pushed out in June. I think it should be. Apparently they're only banning disposable vapes.
Yeah.
But whenever they should be getting rid of every single vape. Like smoking companies brought in vapes to try and get people off smoking entirely.
Yeah.
But if they want people off smoking entirely, then why do they keep on making cigarettes and all?
So it's kind of almost another way to get the younger generation hooked in, you know?
They make them they make more money. Can you give an example of a positive experience you've had which has helped you feel more comfortable in the town?
We took a group to the Northwest Islamic Centre, you know, and we were working with a group of young people and another group of young people from the Islamic Centre, and we were just learning about each other's culture, you know, and having a chat over pizza and just, you know, just it was really interesting, and it was just a positive to see, you know, where we can respect each other regardless from where we're from and background and all, you know.
Right. What's one thing you would like to see change in the city for young people?
One thing that I would like to see in the city for young people is, I think, more opportunities in terms of employment, you know, housing. It's just not one thing that young people need. There's a range of things, you know, and you know what it is? Jobs, housing, support, whether that be mental health services, stuff like that, you know. And do you think there's anything that young people can do within the city as well, or?
I say, even if they fail their GCSEs, they should be given a chance at, like, say, a part-time job.
Yeah.
They prove that they have the skills, even if they don't have GCSEs. Next question. How do you think young people can bring a positive change in the city?
Do you know what? I don't think they need to. They already are. They're making a positive change right now. You know, and even yourself interviewing me now, and other people out there too, within their communities, helping elderly people. You know, we, like, young people, and you can agree with us too, we are making change.
Agreed. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Jack, for coming. I'm going to call you Conor.
You know.